Hey, welcome everyone back to Wizards pregame. We got Cardo Dudley Jr. here, Wilson Tarpey Jr. The Washington Wizards. They had a few days off after their last game. This is the first of two matchups tonight between these two teams. They're playing the San Antonio Spurs on the road tonight. The Spurs coming to this one, Cardell, 18-7, having beat the Thunder in a really exciting game, 111-109. Then a game later, they lost to the Knicks in the NBA Cup, in the game that decided the NBA Cup and crowned the Knicks 2025-2026 NBA Cup champs. The Wizards are coming off that 108-89 road win over the Pacers. That's the lowest amount of points that they have given up to an opponent all season. So good news as the injury report goes. The Wizards will be without Malachi Branham, Corey Kispert, and Chris Middleton. However, that does mean they will see the return of one Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly. So, Cardell, the keys to tonight's game.
Well, we all know it starts with Wembanyama. You know, he's a force, all aspects of the game, especially defensively. It'll be a nice little test for Marvin Bagley III, who's been playing awesome the last few games. He's been on his game, pretty much penciling double-double for him. You know, he's been an anchor, but he can't do it by himself, man. We all know what Victor brings to the table. You know, they're going to have to be on the string defensively to pick him up, help out with traps, not just in the paint, but on the perimeter. And also, if you challenge them, you gotta challenge them. You know, don't go this off because they will be going back the other way, and then they're gonna get out and run, and then they're gonna beat the hell out of you. One thing that they do well is you know, look, they get to the free throw line. They're seventh in the league, and they make their free throws. They're seventh in the league in both. They shoot 79%, but yeah, they top 10 in free throw makes a game and free throw attempted. And obviously Victor has a lot to do with that, but it's not just him. Stephen Castle lives in the paint, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, and then that's what goes to my next point, which I believe will determine the game outside of, you know, Victor just dominating. It's the perimeter. It's the young perimeter core of the Spurs versus the young perimeter core of the Wizards. It's no getting around it. I just named them. You know, De'Aaron Fox, he's the vet, but he's still fairly young. So him and CJ gonna battle. Trey Johnson, Dylan Harper, same draft class, they gonna battle. Then you got Bub and Stephon Castle, same draft class, they gonna battle. And that would determine, like, whoever plays the best in all aspects, short of Wembanyama just going nuclear, just dominating, that would determine the game. And that's why all hands are on deck, because Wembanyama is just a load himself. But, you know, even though they lost that cup game, one thing I saw, I mean, them guards lived in the paint. Man. And they can get active defensively too. So the Wizards can't turn the ball over. They can't force up bad shots that get them boys out and running. You know what I mean? And the thing with Castle is he's the most versatile of the bunch. He can run point, play the 2 and the 3. You see what I'm saying? So, and you also got to be aware Harrison Barnes, he's shooting 41%. He didn't shoot well in that cup game on the championship, but, you know, he's shooting 41% from deep, still 6'8", still not a play. Devin Vassell, you know, Swiss Army knife type of guy, do a little bit of everything, 15, 3 and 2. Keldon Johnson, you know, he basically coming off the bench, give you 12 and 6. And Julian Champagnie, the brother of Justin, twin brother, coming off the bench, he was 11 and 5. So Luke Cornett gives you good minutes, 7 and 6. That's a good backup. Showchain, 6. Like, you got a lot of guys. They go deep in their bench, and a lot of guys that understand their roles and can make their impact the roles. So the Wizards, they got to match that. And one thing about the Spurs, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They're not going to turn the ball over a lot. They're 12th in the league in turnovers, you know, 14.8, 10th in rebounding. And honestly, a lot of these numbers would be different if Victor was healthy. You know what I'm saying? Because he was out for a big chunk of the season. So if he was there, those numbers probably look different. So, you know, you got to look at that thing. You know, one thing is they get up and down, but they in the middle pack of the league with pace, you know, 13th, you know, 100.3. So that's to Washington's advantage. You know, look, Victor can't block if he's always behind the action. So get on and run, and that neutralizes what he can do. And you know, and that's what Marvin Bagley can do. He can run the floor, you know what I mean? And they're going to need him to run the floor. Same with Tristan Vucevic, you know, he going to have to see minutes. You know, you're dealing with a monster inside. So he gonna have to run, and they gonna have to be physical and bang and just try to hold the fort down. But that perimeter, man, that, like I just named all their young core, the Wizards young core, Bub, Trey. I mean, obviously CJ leading the way. Chris, if he's back, Chris Middleton. Then you got Keyshawn, and you said Koulibaly's back, and you know what I'm saying, like, look, man, Justin, Champagne, like the young cores, they got to run because they're in similar spots as far as development of the young core. Outside of Stephon Castle, I mean, he won Rookie of the Year, but guess what? Bub was first team. I believe his first team, or at least second team. I can't remember. I got to check, but he was on one of the rookie teams, so he wasn't far behind. You know what I mean? Him more Sar. So, and Sar has taken the lead. Bub struggled, but he's coming on strong the last few games. So, like, they're similar in a lot of ways. The difference is that Wemby different. You know what I mean? So, and that the Spurs young core has been together longer than the Wizards, because the Wizards have been adding pieces since this new regime has come. So, look, the Wizards got to play better defense. We already know that. Get out and run. They're 7th at pace now, 107. 101.3, but 7th. They can't make mistakes. They can't turn the ball over. We already know that. That goes without saying. They're 29th right now. They got to rebound well, which is going to be a tall order. That's the other thing. That's what I'm saying. Marvin Bagley's impact is huge. He can't. He been averaging double basically over the last 4 or 5 games. Can't come in here and leave with like 5. That means Victor dominating, and if he's controlling the boards, then more than likely the Spurs gonna win. So, it's just that, man. Style makes fights, and we're gonna see if the pace of the Wizards can neutralize the depth and the size of the Spurs.
Yeah, and only little couple things I'd add was Wemby's still on a minutes restriction over the past 2 games. Still, he's been that hasn't hampered and limited his productivity in those minutes at all. I'm anxious to see, with Sarr coming back, if he's going to be on a minutes restriction as well. But like you said, whether Sarr or not, what you said about Marvin Bagley still applies. Like, it's all hands on deck tonight. You mentioned the Spurs guards and the youngsters. Like, they all hit the glass. Like, that is a team-wide activity for the Spurs. And then, lastly, you talked about the Spurs guards living in the paint, right? Washington. You cannot play defense with your hands tonight. Like, you just can't. You're not getting out. You're not surviving this game if you do. You can check some of those other boxes off. If it's a parade to the free throw line, not beating the Spurs. Because they're one thing I do appreciate about the Spurs, they're not going to stop themselves from attacking. They're not all of a sudden going to be like, hey, let me take 6 threes arbitrarily. Nah, like, they want to get downhill, and you have to make them stop going downhill. Or at least at best, contain them, limit them, slow them down. But you can't put them on the line. It just can't happen. You had anything else you wanted to add, Cardo? You muted.
Marvin Bagley over the last 2 days. Marvin Bagley, the last 2 games, and the loss to Cleveland, which they should have won, 15-13-4. Against Pacers, they did win their last game on the 14th, 23-14. They gonna need that, man. He shot 60% or better. Even against Atlanta, he shot 60%. He just didn't get enough shots. He was 6 of 3. That was back on the 6. They lost. Boston, no one played well. They got the hell beat out on everybody. Didn't play well. And then Philly, he had 13 and 8 in the loss. So, feed him, but he got to bring that same energy and stuff like that. He can't shy away from the monster inside for the Spurs. They need him to show up.
For sure. You guys heard it here. You know what the keys of the game are. We'll check in with you guys afterwards, as always, with Wizards Outlook. Enjoy the game.